Hello children, today we will begin with the revision of human reproduction. Fine. So we have completed reproduction in organisms. So human reproduction. So let me take the pen. Okay. What are the features of humans that you have to see? So humans are viviparous, that is they give birth directly to the young one. And reproduction, it involves the sexual method. In the humans, we will say sexual method of reproduction. So sexual reproduction, what do you mean by sexual reproduction? It is the reproduction which takes place by the formation and fusion of gametes. So what is the important feature of sexual reproduction? So formation and fusion of gametes is there. Fine. So my pen went somewhere. Okay children, here it is. So what is the important feature? That is formation and fusion of gametes is there. So here formation and fusion of gametes is there in the sexual reproduction. And the gametes, these gametes, they are developed in primary sex organs. They develop in primary sex organs like testes in the male. In the male, testis. Fine. In the male, it is testis. How do you indicate male? With the arrow mark on the top. And ovaries in the female. Fine. So in these primary reproductive structures, gametes are formed. So what you have to know, the human beings are viviparous, they reproduce sexually, especially by forming the gametes, and gametes are formed in a primary sex organs, or you can say gonads, like testis and the ovary. Fine. Now next here we are dealing with the male reproductive system. So male reproductive system, it include pair of testes. Fine. It include accessory ducts, accessory glands and external genital organs. So all these structures, they are there in the male reproductive system. So let us know one by one. So first here I have taken the image of a male reproductive system. So after reading, let us go to this one. Fine. So here you can see the primary sex organ, testis. So this one is the testis. Fine. This oval shaped structure, what is there? This one is the testis, and it is there in the scrotum, a muscular pouch like pouch in which testis is present. And you know the importance of the scrotum. It will help in maintaining the temperature less than the body temperature, nearly 2 to 3 degrees less. Fine. And then you will see vasa deferens. So this duct, this tubular structure, it is the vasa deferens. Fine. And then it will open in ejaculatory duct, and this will open in a common duct called urinogenital duct in the male, because here the excretory as well as the reproductive products will get eliminated through a single duct. Fine. Urethra, that is why in the male it is called urinogenital duct. Fine. And you will see 3 accessory glands, like here seminal vesicle is there. Fine. Here you will see seminal vesicle, prostate gland and Cowper's gland. This Cowper's gland is also called bulbourethral gland. What is the other name of the Cowper's gland? It is bulbourethral gland. So this also you can write. Fine. And this is the external genital organ, which is called penis, and it is a glans penis and purpose. The tip of this copulatory organ is called purpose. Fine. So this is the structure which you have learned for 5 marks, and you have practiced the diagram. Let us know in detail. So this is also the diagram. It is a simple diagram. Actually there is no need for you to practice, but I have kept this for the coming one. Fine. So this also don't want testis. You have to know the important characters of the testis. Now testis, it is a primary sex organ, this already you know, and it is present outside the abdominal cavity. You know what is our body temperature? What is our body temperature? It is 37 degrees Celsius. Fine. So before birth only, the testes will get descended into the scrotum. The scrotum provides low temperature, about 2 to 3 degrees less. It is an important point. See, in the scrotum, the temperature is maintained nearly 2 to 3 degrees less, which is required for spermatogenesis. In the higher temperature, that is in the body temperature, the sperms are not produced. That is why in the male, the testes will get descended into the scrotum. If testes for some reason, if they fail to descend into the scrotum, then that child will become sterile in future. Fine, that child will become sterile, and the normal production of the sperm will be inhibited because of the body temperature. So the process where you can say the phenomena where the testes fail to descend into the scrotum is called cryptorchidism. Fine. So it is called failure of testes to descend into the scrotum is called cryptorchidism. This you have to know. It is a MCQ question asked in CET. Fine children, hope this you got revised. Now each testis has got 250 compartments. Each testis has got 250 compartments which are called testicular lobules. Fine. Each testis has got nearly 250 compartments which are called testicular lobules, and each lobule contain a highly coiled structures which are called seminiferous tubule. So these seminiferous tubules are very important, because in the seminiferous tubules only the sperm production will take place. That is there in the coming sentence. Fine. So the inner wall of the seminiferous tubule, it is lined by two types of cells. So inner wall of the seminiferous tubule, fine, it is lined by two types of cells, that is germ cells and Sertoli cells. Fine, germ cells and Sertoli cells. So these germ cells, they are the reproductive cells. Germ cells, they are the reproductive cells, and they will undergo meiosis cell division. They will undergo meiosis cell division to form the sperms, and you know sperms are the male gamete. So from where the sperms are produced? Sperms are produced from the germ cells of seminiferous tubule. That is why seminiferous tubules are called as structural and functional units of testis. So Sertoli cells, now you know the function of the germ cell. Fine. What is the function of the germ cell? It is the production of the sperm. So Sertoli cells, what do Sertoli cells will do? Sertoli cells will provide nutrition and support. So usually I told you in the class that the Sertoli cells will provide nutrition and support to the growing sperms. So in between the seminiferous tubules, so structure of seminiferous tubule is there in the coming slide. Fine. Suppose that these are the seminiferous tubules. Fine. And here the Sertoli cells are there. Fine. And in between Sertoli cells you will see the sperms, and in between these seminiferous tubules here you will see interstitial cells or Leydig cells. So in between the seminiferous tubule, what do you see? Interstitial cells, or they are also called as Leydig cells. So interstitial, in the class what we wrote? Interstitial cells of Leydig. Leydig, it refers to the scientist, the name. So Leydig cells produced hormones which are called as androgens. So Leydig cells or the interstitial cells, they produce the male sex hormones which are called androgen. Androgen, a group of male sex hormones. Among them, a very important male sex organ is the testosterone. Important male sex organ is the testosterone. Fine. Now let us go to the next slide. Accessory duct. accessory, why do you use the term accessory? That it is not these are not compulsory for the production of the sperm, but they support the survival of the sperms. Fine. Accessory duct, it include the retate testis. It include the accessory ducts like retate testis, vasa efferentia, epididymis and vasa deferens. So these already you have learned. Fine. So here you can't see in this diagram you can't see retate testis and vasa efferentia. You will see directly the epididymis. On the dorsal side of the testis you will see the epididymis, and then you will see the vasa deferens. Fine. Well, so these are the accessory ducts. Now here sequence is given. See seminiferous tubules. See the seminiferous tubules, what are they? They are the structural and functional units of the testis, male reproductive system. These seminiferous tubule, they open in vasa efferentia. Fine. This vasa efferentia, the seminiferous tubule, it opens into vasa efferentia through retate testis. Fine. And this retate testis, the vasa efferentia leaves the testis and open into epididymis. It opens into epididymis, and epididymis continue as vasa deferens. Fine. So this sequence you have to remember. Okay. What is the sequence? Seminiferous tubules, they fuse together to form the retate testis. Retate testis continue in vasa efferentia, and then it forms the epididymis. In coming pages you have the diagram. Fine. And then you have got the vasa deferens. So here epididymis, it will play a very important role in the maturation of the sperm. So what is the function of the epididymis? Epididymis, it will help in the maturation of the sperms. It will help in the maturation of the sperm. Fine. You have to remember this function. Now let us go to the next slide. So here the internal structure of the testis has been shown. So these are the seminiferous tubule. So these are highly coiled seminiferous tubules which are present in the testis. Fine. And these seminiferous tubules, they will form retate testis. This network of tubules is the retate testis, and these retate testis will form a small duct-like structures which are called vasa efferentia or vasa efferens, you can say here efferent ducts. It has been named as efferent duct. Fine. And these vasa efferentia, they open in a structure which is called epididymis. So this bigger duct-like structure is the epididymis. Fine. This structure is epididymis. Let me, we drew this in the class. I did not draw in all classes, but only in 2 classes I drew. This is the epididymis. So I told you that in the epididymis only the sperms are stored for some time, and then they will get matured. Fine. Sperms are stored for some time and then they will get matured. And this epididymis, it will get continued in a structure called vasa deferens. Fine. So that is about the accessory duct. Now usually this epididymis has got 3 structures, but we don't have this in the theory. That is caput, that is head of the epididymis, tail region cauda, and this is the body of the epididymis. Cauda, caput, I remember one more term, it is not coming to my mind at present. Fine. When we will be saying continuously, sometimes some of the terms will get skipped from the mind afterwards, they may come. Fine. Let us go to the next slide. Well, the epididymis leads to the vasa deferens. This already I told. Vasa deferens opens into urethra. Vasa deferens, it will open into a duct which is called urethra. See. After vasa difference, what structure you will get? Urethra. Hope it is sixth one. Fine. It opens as ejaculatory duct. Fine. Urethra originates from the urinary bladder. You have studied the excretory structure in your previous classes. And it extends through the penis to the external opening. You know this. No need for me to explain. Just you have to remember the pathway here. Okay. Now accessory glands. Accessory glands, it include seminal, vesicle, a paired. You have to remember which are paired, which are unpaired. So accessory gland includes paired seminal vesicle, prostate gland. So prostate gland is not paired, and bulbourethral gland. So these two are present in pair, that is seminal vesicle and bulbourethral gland. What is the other name for bulbourethral gland? You already know. What is that? Copper's gland. The position of these glands you can see in the diagram. There you saw, and here also you can see. Cursor will not come immediately. Fine. So here a small structure which is called bulbourethral gland, and see here, this structure, it is the, what is this? Prostate gland, and this structure is the seminal vesicle. It is the side view which is given in your NCERT. Fine. Now let me go to the next slide. So these glands, what do they secrete? Glands means automatically secretion they will do. They will secrete a fluid which is called seminal plasma. So you wrote for theory. Seminal plasma, it contains mainly fructose for nourishing the sperm, calcium which will help in providing motility, and certain enzymes. So these are the contents of the seminal plasma. What are the contents of the seminal plasma? Fructose, calcium, and certain enzymes. And also it is having sperms. So together with the sperm it forms semen. It is a MCQ question. What is semen? Seminal plasma plus sperm. Seminal plasma plus sperm is the semen. And what the seminal plasma contain? It contains fructose, calcium, and certain enzymes. So after puberty, millions of sperms will mature every day. Just imagine, in the males, millions of sperms will mature every day, and each ejaculation, it contains nearly 300 to 400 ml. Here it is given 300 ml. So in book we read 300 to 400 million sperms it contains. So now you have studied about the accessory glands, accessory duct, and primary reproductive organ. Fine. Now external genital organs, the organs which you can see externally. Fine. Again the writing only will go somewhere. Okay, let it be. So external genital organs. In the external genital organs in the male, mainly you will see the penis. It is a copulatory organ which will help in depositing the semen into the female reproductive system. It is made up of a special tissue which will help in the erection. And the erection is necessary during copulation. Fine. So that the copulatory organ can deposit semen into the female reproductive tract. Fine. It will facilitate insemination. It is also a MCQ term. What do you mean by insemination? So insemination, it is a process of deposition of sperm into the female reproductive tract. Hope this slide is clear. I did not just let me attend this phone, children. Sir, I am in class. Let me mute it. Okay, I did not mute. Okay, I have muted. Sorry, children. And now we have to go to the spermatogenesis process. You know what do you mean by spermatogenesis? The process of formation of haploid male gamete. the process of formation of you can say sperm, that is the spermatogenesis. Where the sperms are produced? Sperms are produced in the seminiferous tubule, that already you know. Fine. And the inner wall of the seminiferous tubule, it contains mainly two types of cells, that is germ cells and the Sertoli cells. And you know that germ cells are called as spermatogonial cells. Fine, because they will help in the formation of the sperm. And Sertoli cell, they provide support and nourishment to the growing sperms. So germinal cells, they divide through meiosis and they will form the sperms. Fine. And spermatogenesis usually takes place in two stages. Spermatogenesis, so this spermatogenesis process, it will take place in two stages. They are called spermatidogenesis, or it is also called as spermatogenesis. We taught in the class spermatogenesis or spermatidogenesis, spermatogenesis you can say, you can remember like that, and spermiogenesis. So the spermatogenesis is studied under two stages. The first stage is the spermatidogenesis and the second is the spermiogenesis. Now let us go to the next slide. So in this slide you can see the process of spermatogenesis. So what do you mean by spermatidogenesis? Formation of spermatid. It is the process of formation of spermatid, and this process has got three phases. The first one is the multiplication phase. So here in the multiplication phase, the spermatogonial cells will undergo repeated mitotic cell division. It will undergo repeated mitotic cell division and large number of diploid spermatogonial cells are formed. So here you can see the sometimes it will not come, the cursor is not coming. Okay, let me just try. Okay, let me go to the next process, that is growth process. So growth process, the spermatogonial cells will grow in size, increasing the amount of cytoplasm and get ready for the maturation. Now the spermatogonial cells are called as primary spermatocyte. So here you can see that these are the spermatogonial cell, or you can say sperm mother cell. So the spermatogonium is also called as sperm mother cell. Mother cell. Fine. So this sperm mother cell will undergo mitotic cell division. You know what do you mean by mitotic cell division? It is an equational cell division, no change in the chromosomal number. The chromosomes will get equally distributed to the daughter cells. Fine. And these cells, when these spermatogonial cells are continuously formed, that is why it is called multiplication phase. Fine. And this spermatogonial cell, it will undergo a growth phase by accumulating little amount of cytoplasm. So it is a very short period in the males. The growth phase in the males will take a little time. Fine. And after the growth phase, whatever structure will result, that structure is called as primary spermatocyte. It is bigger than the spermatogonium. Fine. So this structure is called as primary spermatocyte, and it is diploid. This you have to remember, it is diploid in number. So afterwards, this primary spermatocyte will undergo a meiotic cell division, that is first meiosis. Here in this diagram everything is given in detail. Fine. Here it will undergo meiotic 1 cell division, and meiosis 1, you know that it is a reductional cell division. Meiosis 1, it is a reductional cell division, and here 2 haploid cells are formed. So these are the haploid cells. 2 haploid cells are formed, and these are called as secondary spermatocytes. So this spermatogenesis process, on this spermatogenesis process you will get many questions. And about the primary and secondary spermatogenesis and their chromosome number, it has been asked in the CET. Fine. Now this secondary spermatocyte cells, they sincerely enter into a next division, that is meiosis 2. When the meiosis 1 division has occurred, that means meiosis 2 also will occur compulsory. So meiosis 2, it is an equational cell division. So here the secondary spermatocyte will divide through meiosis 2, which is an equational cell division, and it will form 2 daughter cells. Each secondary spermatocyte will form 2 daughter cells, which are called as spermatids. Fine. And these spermatids, they are inactive, they are non-functional, and they are non-motile. So up to here, the first process is completed. What is that first process? Oh, this pen, something I have pressed, I think. Okay, let me just press this one. Okay. Up to here, what is this process called? It is spermatidogenesis. Spermatid formation also you can say. Up to here, what you can say? Spermatid formation, or you can say spermatidogenesis. Fine. And these spermatids, they will undergo physiological and morphological changes. These spermatids, they will undergo physiological and morphological changes to become into, they will get converted into, or to become you can say spermatozoa. So these spermatozoa, they are functional, they are motile, and they are active. Fine. So this process of conversion of spermatid into spermatozoa is called as spermiogenesis. In the coming slide, you will be coming to know the diagram. Fine. So hope spermatogenesis is clear. Okay. Now whatever just now I told, that is there. Let me read out. So maturation phase. So here the diploid primary spermatocyte. You know that the primary spermatocyte is diploid in nature. So this primary spermatocyte will undergo first meiotic cell division. It will undergo first meiotic cell division to form the secondary spermatocytes, and you know secondary spermatocytes are haploid in nature. Fine. And each primary spermatocyte is going to form 2 secondary spermatocytes. In total, how many spermatids will become? How many daughter cells are formed? 4 haploid spermatids are formed. Fine. Next process is the spermiogenesis. So I told already what do you mean by spermiogenesis. It is the process of formation of inactive non-motile spermatid into active motile spermatozoa. This process is called as spermiogenesis. So usually children will get confused with 3 terms: spermatogenesis, spermiogenesis, spermiation. Spermiation, it is release of sperms from Sertoli cells. We will read this term in coming PPTs. The spermatids will undergo structural changes, physiological and morphological both. So what structural changes it will undergo? That is given here. So the Golgi complex, it will form a large cap-like structure, large cap, or you can say cup-like structure, which is called acrosome. This you have to remember. Fine. And the 2 centrioles of the spermatid move towards the nucleus, and they arrange one below the other. One will get accommodated in the depression of the nucleus at the posterior position, and that is called the proximal centriole. Fine. And below that is the distal centriole. So where my pen is, somewhere here. Okay. Distal centriole. So this distal centriole is going to form the tail, children. This distal centriole is going to form the tail, and the mitochondria will get arranged in a compact manner below the neck region, and it will form the middle portion of the sperm. The nucleus will become elongated, highly condensed, spherical in shape. Okay. Nucleus will become highly condensed one. So mitochondria, it will form a mitochondrial sheath, or which is also called as Niebergen sheath, and the nucleus will become highly condensed, elongated and spherical. So these all structural changes will take place in the sperm. So here the diagram has been given, what are changes, how it is going to take place, and we don't want that, it is not given in our syllabus, and it is the natural diagram, natural photo of a sperm. Now here again the spermatogenesis process is given, don't want, I already have explained. Now here you will see the structure of the sperm. So in the sperm you will see mainly 4 important parts. So what are those parts? You will see head region, where my cursor is, okay, head you will see, neck you will see, and this one is the middle portion, which is, this one is the middle portion, fine, middle piece we will say. So here it is given mitochondrial sheath. So in the class what we have labeled, middle piece, let me write middle piece, okay, and this one end is the tail, fine. So these things only are given here. So size usually I told you that there is no need to remember the size. So the sperm, it is a haploid gamete, of course it is a haploid gamete. What is the length? 60 micron. It contains mainly these regions, head, neck is very small, that is why in some of the books it is not given. Head, neck, middle piece and the tail. So let us see what is there in the head region. In the head region what do you see? You will see a large haploid nucleus, fine, which contain male genetic material. It will contribute to, it has got the male genital genetic component. Anteriorly nucleus is covered by a cap-like structure, this you have to remember, a cap-like structure which is called as acrosome. So this is formed from the Golgi complex, you have to remember this. And this acrosome, it is formed from the Golgi complex. These are MCQ questions. And this acrosome, it contain mainly lytic enzymes. It will contain, lytic means what? Lysis, destruction. It contain the lytic enzymes, and these lytic enzymes will help in the dissolution of the egg membrane. It will help in the dissolution of the egg membrane during fertilization. Fine. Now let us see the next slide, neck. So neck, I told you that it is the second part of the sperm, and below the head a small neck is present, and in this you will see proximal and distal centriole. Fine, you will see proximal and distal centriole, and here the distal centriole, it will give rise to a tail. It will give rise to a tail, and it will mainly give axial filament which is going to form the tail. Fine. Next, the axial filament, it is surrounded by mitochondria in the middle piece. Initially the axial, what do you mean by axial filament? It is the core of the tail, you can say. Fine, it is formed from the distal centriole. So the mitochondria provide energy for the motility. Fine, mitochondria will provide energy for the motility of the sperm. That is why it is also called as engine room of the sperm. It is also called as engine room of the sperm. Fine, it is O, children. Okay, hope you will understand. So that is about the structure of the sperm, and well, 2 times I have pasted this one, let it be. Now here the NCERT diagram I have taken. So here you can see a clear cut mitochondria, and you can see here the acrosome. Clearly you can see the whole sperm is covered by plasma membrane, of course, and this is a cap-like structure which is called acrosome. This is the highly condensed nucleus. Fine, at the back you will see centriole. Here it is not labeled. Fine, and here what you can see here, the mitochondrial sheath which got encircled around the axial filament, that you can see very clearly, and this one is the axial filament. So this we have labeled as axial filament. It is here, it is not labeled, but it is understood because you have already prepared yourself for the theory, but you did not write. That is the next question. Fine, axial axial filament which forms the tail. So you can't see this filament clearly. Let me rub, or let it be. Okay, let me rub this one. Okay, so let me take the pen and let me write filament, or you will understand. Hope you will understand. Filament. Okay, or you can say axoneme. So here it is the diagram. Usually I used to say that if you feel difficulty in drawing this diagram, you can practice this. That is why simply I have pasted, so that it will become very easy for you to understand. Fine. Now let us go to the hormonal regulation of spermatogenesis. So this process, usually the sperm production in the male will begin at the puberty, when the male will attain nearly a 13 to 14 year age. So at the puberty, the gonadotropins are released. Fine. Gonadotropin releasing hormones are released from the hypothalamus. So here it is given clearly. So gonadotropin releasing hormones are released, and these gonadotropin hormones which are released from the hypothalamus will act on anterior pituitary. It will act on anterior pituitary and stimulate anterior pituitary to release or to secrete the gonadotropins. What are gonadotropins? FSH and LH. The hormones which will act on gonads are called as gonadotropins. How many gonadotropins are there? 2 gonadotropins are there. That is luteinizing hormone, which in short is indicated as LH, and follicle stimulating hormone, that is FSH. LH, it will act on the Leydig cells. You have to remember the sequence. The LH will act on the Leydig cells, or what is the other name of the Leydig cell? It is the interstitial cells, which will stimulate the synthesis of androgens. It will help in the synthesis of androgens, and these androgens will stimulate the spermatogenesis process in the seminiferous tubule. And FSH, it will act on the Sertoli cells. It will act on the Sertoli cells and stimulate the spermatogenesis. So diagrammatically here it is indicated. So hypothalamus, it will secrete gonadotropin releasing hormone, and this gonadotropin releasing hormone, here it is given. So gonadotropin releasing hormone. So this gonadotropin releasing hormone will act on the pituitary and this anterior pituitary, you have to remember. So only 2 hormones are stored in the posterior pituitary. Hope you remember. So this anterior pituitary will secrete mainly 2 gonadotropins, that is LH and FSH. FSH will induce spermatogenesis and LH will induce the androgen production in the interstitial cells. Fine. And when sufficient number of sperms are produced, then inhibin will stop the secretion of the gonadotropin from the anterior pituitary. Like this the cycle will begin. Cycle will continue. It will begin at the puberty only. Fine. That is about the hormonal regulation. Now let us know about the female reproductive system. You know, female reproductive system is a little bit complicated because it is meant for many purpose. It is meant for many purpose. For what all purpose? It is there. Again the pen went, children. Okay, it is there. It is there. So the female reproductive system. The female reproductive system, where it is located? It is located in the pelvic region. Fine. What does it include? It includes pair of ovaries, pair of oviduct, only 1 uterus, 1 cervix, vagina, and external genital organs. These are all the inclusion of female reproductive system. So female gonads are the ovaries. What are the female gonads called? They are called the ovaries. A female has got a pair of ovaries. The ovaries are the primary sex organs. The ovaries are the primary sex organs which will produce female gamete, and female gamete is called ovum, or simply you can say egg. And this primary sex organ also produces the female sex organs which are steroidal in nature. That is, it will produce the steroidal hormone. The ovaries are located in the lower abdomen. A position you have to know. I did not took the woman diagram. A girl diagram I would have taken. It is located in the lower abdomen. And you know, each ovary, it is nearly 2 to 4 centimeter in length, and they are connected to the pelvic wall by ligaments. This you have to remember. Fine. The ovaries are connected to the pelvic wall by the ligaments. Here usually we used to name the ligament. Fine. Now each ovary, it is covered by a thin epithelium, and with in this covering a small sac-like structure is present, and that is called ovarian follicles. A small, you will read about this in later PPTs. The ovary has got two regions. See, when you cut the ovary, there you will see two regions, that is the cortex and the medulla. So it is understood. Cortex means usually the peripheral region is the cortex. Fine. Peripheral is the cortex and the inner region is called as medulla. So here next we have got the oviduct. So this is the oviduct. This full region is called as oviduct. So each fallopian tube. See, oviduct is also called as fallopian tube, and it is nearly 10 to 12 centimeter in length. 10 to 12 centimeter long. It extends from ovary to the uterus. It extends from ovary to the uterus. From ovary to the uterus it will extend, and it is 10 to 12 centimeter in length. Fine. And close to the ovary, the oviduct has a funnel shaped structure. This already you know. Then also I'm just refreshing your memories, children. Fine. So this structure, a funnel-like structure, is called infundibulum. Wider funnel-like structure. Ladki hangirtad hoda. So infundibulum leads to a wider part of the oviduct, and that is called the ampulla. Ilenadilla is structure. Again, I have pressed this one. I think if I press the bottom button, it will not write. So this is called the ampulla. Fine. And this ampulla, it will lead to the isthmus. The part which is nearer to the uterus is called the isthmus. Fine. And at the part which is nearer to the ovary, that is at the anterior part of the infundibulum, you will see a finger-like process. Here you can see very clearly. These finger-like processes which are present here, they are called as fimbriae. They will help in sucking the ovum which is coming out from the ovary. Fine. Now uterus. So uterus, it is a hollow pear-shaped muscular organ. It is a pear-shaped muscular organ which will help in the growth of the embryo. Usually single uterus is present in the abdomen of the female, which is also called as womb. The uterus is also called as womb. Commonly it is called womb only. So inside the uterus, the fertilized ovum will grow into embryo. It is a home for the baby. This uterus will accommodate the child. That is why in the female usually the pelvic girdle is little bit wider when you compare with the male. So how do you draw the female cartoon? Imagine. I can't draw so easily here, so I am not drawing. The wall of the uterus has 3 layers. The wall of the uterus has got 3 layers. You have to remember this. Peri means external. So perimetrium, it is an external thin membranous structure which is made up of connective tissue and help in the protection. The middle one is the myometrium. It is the thick layer which is made up of smooth muscles, and the third one is the endometrium. It is a structure which is made up of glandular layer. It will be forming and degenerating. Fine. And this endometrium undergoes a cyclical changes during the menstrual cycle. Fine. So that is about the uterus. Now let us go to the next slide. See myometrium. See myometrium. It is the layer of the uterus which will undergo a strong contraction. When it will undergo strong contraction during the parturition, during the delivery. Fine. During the delivery of the baby, the myometrium will undergo strong contraction. Where my cursor went? Okay, here it is. Fine. The uterus opens into vagina through a narrow canal-like structure which is called cervix. Fine. Uterus opens into cervix, then this opens into vagina. Fine. So this you have to remember. Uterus first, cervix second, and third one is the vagina. The lumen of the cervix is called as cervical canal. The lumen of the cervix, lumen adilla, idukku cervical canal anta ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. The cervical canal along with the vagina, it will form the birth canal. This you have to remember. What does this birth canal include? It include cervical canal plus vagina. Let me go to the next slide. This diagram already you have practiced. So external genital organs of the female. So it include mons pubis, labia majora and labia minora. So usually okay. So these are the external genital organs. Fine. Now hymen, this you have to remember. See hymen, it is a membranous structure which partially closes the vagina. Fine. And clitoris, it is a tiny finger-like structure which is present at the junction between labia minora. Fine. Now mammary glands, it is usually you have practiced this for theory. Fine. The mammals has a mammary glands. See, the mammal name itself we got because of the presence of the mammary gland, that already you have by hearted. Fine. So these mammary glands, they are functional in the females and they are non-functional in the males. And in the female, it will help in the secretion of the milk, which will help to feed the young ones. You know, mammals will take care of their young ones very much. That is why 100% of survival chances are there. The predators will not eat them. They are not prone to the predator, you can say. I already told you that in the females, the mammary glands are very, they are functional, you can say. Fine. These mammary glands, they mainly contain the glandular tissues and fat. Fine. And this glandular tissue, they contain mainly 15 to 20 mammary lobes. It contains mainly 15 to 20 mammary lobes. So here, these are the lobes in which you will see alveoli. These are the mammary lobes, and each breast contain nearly 15 to 20 mammary lobes. Now, the mammary lobe contain a cluster of cells which are called alveoli. So you will come across one more alveola in the lungs, which are structural and functional unit of the respiratory system. And these are the structural and functional units of the mammary glands. Fine. So these alveoli, they will secrete and store the milk. Fine. So again I am missing my, okay. So these here small structures, what you can see, they are the alveoli. Fine. So these alveoli, they will secrete and store the milk. The alveoli opens into a mammary tubule. So these are the mammary tubules. They open into a mammary tubule, and these mammary tubules open into a mammary duct. All alveoli, they will open into a mammary tubule, and mammary tubule opens into a mammary duct, and several mammary duct, they join together to form a wider structure. Here it is, not shown much wider. So this is a wider structure which is called mammary ampulla. You drew a single structure in the class. Fine. Mammary ampulla, which is connected to the lactiferous duct. So this is called the lactiferous duct. Fine. So this lactiferous duct opens outside through a small opening in the nipple. Fine. So this is a nipple, and through this pores which are present in the nipple, the milk will get ejected when the baby will suckle after the delivery. You know, the suckling, it is a reflex activity of the baby. So to a newborn baby, whatever you give, just it will start sucking, children. If you keep your finger also, it will start sucking. That is the reflex action. Whatever, if something touches to its lips, no, it will start sucking. Now here is a sectional view of the ovary. So sectional view of the ovary, I told you that here you will see two regions, that is the ovarian cortex and ovarian medulla. So after puberty, you will see the follicles. You will see different forms of follicles in the cortical region. Okay. So here you can see the primary follicle, and this primary follicle will grow into a secondary follicle. Tertiary follicle, in some book it is given, in some book it is given directly the Graafian follicle, like this. So this middle portion, it is called as the medulla, fine, and this peripheral portion is called as the cortex. So in the cortical region, you will see the different stages of follicles. No need for me to say in detail. So the primary follicles, just form follicles, and these secondary follicles are transformed into tertiary, which is characterized by the fluid-filled cavity called antrum. Antrum you will read in Graafian follicle. That only. Okay. So usually one oocyte will mature per month, per 28 days. So the wall here, the structure of the Graafian follicle is given, and you know that the Graafian follicle, it is a matured ovarian follicle, fine. So this Graafian follicle, it is made up of theca externa. Externally, it is covered by a fibrous connective tissue layer, which is called as theca externa, this one. So connective tissue fibers are there here, and it will form theca externa, and inner to this you will see theca interna. Theca interna, it has got a blood supply. It has got here the structure is not shown so clearly. Theca externa and interna, it is not shown clearly, children. So in the class we drew in a different way. Right? Let it be. It is an image diagrammatic presentation, you can see. So this portion, this small portion, you can say as a theca externa, which is made up of fibrous connective tissue layer. And this one, wherever red markings have been shown, no, it is theca interna. Because theca interna is vascularized, that is, it has got a blood supply. And inner to theca interna, you will see follicle cells, membrana granulosa. So this portion, nearly 10 to 15 in the class, we drew 2 to 3 layers. So here it is given 10 to 15 layers of follicles are there, which are called membrana granulosa. It is membrana granulosa. You can read out, it has been hidden in the image. Fine. So on this portion, a C-shaped structure, or you can say half-moon shaped structure. It is antrum, which is filled with a liquor folliculi, and on one side of this membrana granulosa, you will see heap of cells, which is called, these cells, it appears as if they are projecting into the antrum, isn't it? So this is called a cumulus oophrys. It is called cumulus oophrys, and on the summit of this cumulus oophrys, you will see the ovum. Fine. So this is about the Graafian follicle, which you will see in the ovary. And this structure here, it is clear, which we drew in the classroom. Fine. You can see here the theca externa, theca externa, theca interna, membrana granulosa, antrum, which is filled with the liquor folliculi, or it is also called as follicular fluid. Fine. And cumulus oophrys, and on the top of this, or at the summit, what term we have used, ovum is present. Fine. Enough. This much information is enough. Here what you have to know? You have to know the sequence of the membranes. Fine. Theca externa, when you take from the outside, you will see theca externa, interna, membrana granulosa. When you come from the inside, membrana granulosa, theca interna, and theca externa. Now just now whatever I told, that is there here. That is, the antrum is C-shaped. Fine. And The antrum is filled with the fluid which is secreted by follicle cells, that is membrana granulosa, and it is rich in FSH and LH and estrogen. That liquor follicula, it is rich in these three hormones, that is follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone and estrogen. And during ovulation, the follicle releases ovum. Fine. And this ovum is released out of the ovary. And this process is called as ovulation. It is a MCQ question. Many MCQ questions can be formed in the human reproduction because it is an interesting and big topic, you know this. So you have to read every sentence from the NCERT. Fine. So the release of ova from the Graafian follicle, or you can say even from the ovary, is called ovulation. Fine. Afterwards, the remaining structure, the remaining cellular debris will get converted into what? Corpus luteum. So these remaining cells, they will form a next temporary endocrine structure which is called corpus luteum. You know, this corpus luteum, it is a temporary endocrine gland. It is a temporary endocrine gland, and you know, this will secrete a hormone called progesterone. Progesterone, let me mark here. It will secrete a hormone called progesterone which will help in maintaining the pregnancy. Fine. If the ovum is unfertilized, if the ovum will not get fertilized, then this corpus luteum will get degenerated. It will get degenerated into corpus albicans. Fine. So that is about the structure of the ovary and the Graafian follicle. Now next you are going to read about the oogenesis. So what is oogenesis? It is the formation and maturation of female gamete. So this sentence only you have learned. So formation and maturation of the female gamete in the gonad is called as oogenesis, where actually the gamete is forming. It is forming in the Graafian follicle. Fine. The oogenesis, here it begins right from the embryonic stage, whereas the spermatogenesis will begin after puberty. Fine. The germinal epithelial cells, they divide mitotically and they produce millions of gamete mother cells. They produces millions of gamete mother cells, or the oogonium, at the time of the birth itself. And after the birth, no oogonial cells are added up. Fine. Now, oogonia, it enters into first meiosis. It enters into first meiosis, and you know the meiosis 1 which you have studied in the first year, because it includes the 5 substages. Fine. All those substages you have studied in detail. So liptotin, pachytin, zygotin, diplotin and dikinesis. You have studied them. Fine. Well, at the prophase 1, this oogonial cell division will get arrested, or you can say suspended. So when the baby is born, a female baby especially, when it is born in its ovary, millions of oogonial cells will be there, and they are all at meiosis 1 stage at prophase 1. They got arrested there only. Further division will take place after the attainment of the puberty. I mean, well, the child will become 11 to 12 years. It is not exactly in this age. It varies female to female. Fine. Now, during puberty, the primary oocyte restarts during puberty. 12 to 14 years, you can see. In some of the female nowadays, you can see the attainment of menarche at 11 years only. So it will restart the first meiotic cell division. Fine. The oogenesis takes place in 3 substages. Oogenesis will take place in 3 stages, you can say. The multiplication phase, growth phase and maturation phase. Fine. Here it is not shown. Okay, here it is shown like this. Mitosis, cell growth phase, and maturation is shown in the form of division. Okay, next we have got. So in the multiplication, what will happen? The germinal epithelial cells will continuously undergo mitotic cell division to form large number of diploid oogonial cells. diploid oogoneal and follicle cells. You know that oogonia, when it is growing, around it many small cells will get surrounded. So those cells are called the follicle cells, and these follicle cells, they will grow from the germinal epithelium. Fine. Now let me go to the next, growth phase. So growth phase here, one of the diploid oogonia will undergo a growth phase. So here in the growth phase, what will happen? The oogonia will accumulate cytoplasm from the surrounding follicular cells and also yolk. So the accumulation of yolk in the oogonia is called vitellogenesis. It is called vitellogenesis. So the oogonial cell will start storing the food. Fine. So this vitellogenesis process is there only in the females, and this will take little more time. Fine. So the oogonia will become enlarged. It will become big compared to this oogonia, and it has already stored food material for the growing egg. So such a cell is called as primary oocyte. After growth phase, it is called primary oocyte in the spermatogenesis as well as in the oogenesis. Next, we have to go to the maturation phase. You know, in the maturation phase, the primary oocyte will undergo a meiotic cell division. It will undergo meiotic cell division. Okay. And it results in the formation of two unequal sized haploid cells. It will result in the formation of two unequal sized haploid cells. See here in the diagram it is shown. This one is bigger one and this one is smaller one. Always I used to stress in the classroom, maintain the size. Fine. And the bigger one is called the secondary oocyte, and the smaller one is called the first polar body. And these cells will undergo further the second meiotic cell division, which is an equational cell division. The polar body, some scientists have got doubt whether it is going to form two more polar bodies or not, but as we have studied that it is going to form, this also will undergo a second meiotic cell division, and this also will form the polar bodies. Fine. And this primary oocyte again will undergo, it will undergo meiosis 2, and it will form one bigger cell and one smaller cell. So this bigger cell is the ovum. Fine. And it is the second polar body. It is the first polar body and it is the second polar body. This you have to remember. Okay. Well, so during oogenesis, 4 cells are formed. Okay, where did my cursor went? There also 4 spermatids are formed, but all 4 spermatids will get converted into active sperms. But here only one functional oocyte is formed. Other 3 will become a non-functional polar body and will get degenerated. Fine. So this you have to remember. Now let me go to the next slide. So this I have taken just to show the diagram what we drew in the classroom. So it is the diagram which we drew in the classroom. So usually I used to say that whenever food will get stored in the primary oocyte, you have to indicate that with the granules. So here you can see clearly the granules, and here you can see the difference in the sizes of the cell. Fine. Enough. Once you had a glance, that's all. By mistake I have left empty slide, and here a revision of spermatogenesis and oogenesis process I have taken. No need for us to go once again. And it is the structure of the ovum. Structure of the ovum, here you can see the cell linings clearly. See here you will see the female haploid nucleus, which has got the female genetic material and it is haploid in nature, and you will see the cytoplasm. From inside out I am coming. So this cytoplasm is also called as ooplasm. It is also called as ooplasm. Fine. And after the ooplasm you will see the cell membrane. Fine. Cell membrane is also called as oolemma. So this portion. Fine, it is also called as oolemma. Fine. And afterwards you have got a clear zone which is called zona pellucida, and then you have got a cellular portion which is called corona radiata. So here in this diagram it has been shown clearly. Just you must know, to know after what layer will come, and it is the NCERT diagram. Okay, hope you know that. No need for me to go through again. Now menstrual cycle. So menstrual cycle you have studied. It is a important feature of the female primates. Okay, menstrual cycle is also called as a reproductive cycle. Again I missed my pen. Let me just bring it in the required area. It is it came. So menstrual cycle is called the reproductive cycle. It is an important feature of female primates. Fine. The menstrual cycle, it begins at the puberty, at 12 to 14 years of age, you can say. In some children it may vary. So in some it may take more time. In some it may become very early. So the first menstrual cycle is called as menarche. MCQ 1 mark question. Fine. During menstrual cycle, the endometrium, that is the middle layer of the uterus, it will prepare itself for the implantation of the fertilized egg. Can say for the growth of the baby, it will be preparing bed. Fine. If this zygote, if the ovum will not get fertilized, then it will get destructed. This endometrium will get degenerated and it will come out in the form of bleeding. So bleeding is a very important feature of menstrual cycle that you have learned, and this process will get repeated on, you can say, approximately 28 days. 28 days cycle, I will say it is a standard cycle, but it may vary in some of the females up to 35 days. 28 to 35 days it may vary. And the ovulation or the release of ova will occur on the 14th day of the menstrual cycle. Fine. Now menstrual cycle diagrammatically it is shown here. It includes mainly 4 phases, that is menstrual phase. Menstrual phase, what is the feature of the menstrual phase? Here the endometrium will fall, it will come out through the vagina, which is a bleeding period. And the follicular phase, here the follicles will be growing. You see primary follicle, secondary follicle, tertiary follicle and Graafian follicle. All these growth of the follicle will occur at the follicular phase. And next, the release of the ovum from the ovary is the ovulatory phase, and after that you will see the luteal phase. That is the temporary endocrine gland, corpus luteum, is formed, and which will help in maintaining the endometrium, and it will be waiting whether egg is going to get fertilized or not within the given time. Fine. Now let me go to the next slide. So here the changes in the hormonal level and the structure of the follicle and the size of the endometrium thickness has been shown. So here in the first, so it is overall reproductive cycle. Fine. And here you will see growth of the follicle, primary follicle, secondary follicle. It is the primary follicle, secondary follicle, Graafian follicle, that is then the ovulation, corpus luteum formation, corpus albicans, corpus atracia. What do you mean by atracia? Degeneration. Fine. And then the body temperature. Usually, see, before ovulation, the body temperature in the females is little low itself. Little means 1 degree Celsius. It will vary. So during ovulation, the temperature will increase a little by 1 degree centigrade. Fine. And it will remain for some days, and then again it will come to the normal. Here temperature is given, and then the anterior pituitary level is given. Up to the ovulation, you'll see the estrogen level. That is the FSH level will be here. Estrogen level is given. So FSH level will be there. This green one is the FSH level. Fine. So during ovulation, the LH level will increase, and this is called LH search, LH peak, LH search. It is a question which is asked in theory as well as in NEET. So at the LH search, I don't remember at what year they have been asked, but they are asked questions, fine. LH search, it is a period, it is a time when the LH level in the female blood will be more, and during this time the ova is released from the Graafian follicle, that is ovulation will take place, then the level of the LH will decrease, fine. And here the level of estrogen and progesterone has been shown graphically. So during up to the ovulation, that is initial 14 days, the level of the estrogen will increase because the Graafian follicles will be growing, and you know that the growing follicles will secrete the estrogen, which is a female sex hormone. The amount of progesterone will be less. Once the ovulation is over, and you know that the temporary endocrine gland, Graafian follicle is, from the Graafian follicle corpus luteum is formed, and the corpus luteum will secrete the progesterone. Thus the progesterone level will go on increasing, fine, it will go on increasing. Then if the pregnancy will not take place, then it will, if the fertilization will not take place, then this level will go on decreasing, fine children. And here the endometrium thickness is given. See here the degeneration of the endometrium, that is the endometrium is lost, fine, when once the follicular phase will begin. So here the endometrium will be becoming thick and glandular slowly, fine. So here you can see increase in the thickness of the endometrium, fine. During the ovulation it will be only a little thicker. Afterwards the endometrium will become little thicker, soft and highly glandular, fine. If the fertilization will not take place, then it will get degenerated. Here you have seen the symbol of the degeneration. So these graphical representation and the changes in the follicle, hormonal level, body temperature, endometrium structure, just you have to know, okay. Now menstrual phase. So here the explanation of the menstrual cycle is given. So menstrual phase, it is the first phase in the menstrual cycle which will last for 3 to 5 days, fine. So usually a healthy female must have the regular menstrual cycle, fine, MC, what you say, that is the healthy sign. So breakdown of endometrium lining and the blood vessels will occur, which will lead to the bleeding, fine. And it occurs only when the ovum which is released during ovulation will not get fertilized. If it will get fertilized, then there is no menstrual cycle, fine. Here diagrammatically it has been shown. And during the follicular phase, what will happen? The follicles will be growing, this will occur, and the hormonal changes just now whatever we have studied, it is given, okay. The graphical representation has shown here separately. In the previous we have seen on one slide itself, so only that is there, fine. And this follicular phase will last for 5 to 13 days. Now next we have to go for the ovulatory phase, which will occur on the 14th day of the menstrual cycle. And here LH surge is there, this you have to remember. The LH level is very high, and this will stimulate the rupturing of the Graafian follicle, and which releases the ovum, fine. Now here also same changes have been given which we have studied. See the ova which is released during ovulation, how many hours it is going to survive? 24 hours, fine. It is going to survive 24 hours. Here it is given 12 to 24 hours, yes, fine. The ovulatory phase usually lasts for 16 to 32 hours. This we did not study in regular theory, fine. You know only the life of an ovum. What is the lifespan of an ovum? It is 24 hours. Sperm 48 hours. Sperm 48 hours. I did not write here. We did not write there also, isn't it? What is the lifespan of the sperm? Let me write here. Double of this. Cursor again it went. Let me write down. So sperm, how many hours it is going to survive? It is going to survive for 48 hours. Fine. Well, now let me go to the next slide. Luteal phase, a secretory phase you can say. So in the luteal phase usually will begin after the ovulation, when the Graafian follicle will get ruptured and the Graafian follicle will get converted into corpus luteum, and this corpus luteum will secrete the progesterone, and this progesterone will help in maintaining the endometrium and also pregnancy. Throughout the female during the pregnancy, the progesterone level will be very high. Fine. So FSH and LH levels fall back to the low and the normal level you can say. And here also same is there. Let me just skip it. Okay. So in the absence of fertilization, this already I told, then also. So in the absence of fertilization, corpus luteum will get degenerated into corpus albicans. Fine. And this suppose when the fertilization will not occur, corpus luteum will be degenerating. No. The degeneration of these corpus luteum into corpus albicans, these generally you can say this is of course corpus luteum. So you can say this corpus atracia. Atracia is death. Atracia. Fine. A went somewhere. Let me rub this one. I did not write it properly. Just remember that atracia, it is the degeneration. Okay. Okay, let me take the pen. Okay, I am using only black. Next time let me use the color one. Okay. Well, decrease in the progesterone level, it leads to the menstruation. It leads to the breakdown of the endometrium, and again the menstrual cycle will begin from the beginning. Fine. The menstrual cycle stops around 50 years of age in the female. In some females it varies. It will vary from 45 to 55. Fine. Approximately here 50 years is given, and the cessation or the stopping of the menstrual cycle is called as menopause. So the menopause is usually indicated by hot flashes, tiredness, fatigue, and in the female osteoporosis is also a sign, as the progesterone and estrogen level will be decreasing. Many changes will occur in the females after menopause. Now let us go for the fertilization. What do you mean by fertilization? Again my pen went somewhere, children. Okay. So what do you mean by copulation? Copulation, it is a sexual activity, or it is also called a coitus, where the male will deposit the semen into the female reproductive tract, which is called vagina, and this process of deposition of the semen into the female reproductive tract is called insemination. Fine. And that the sperms are highly motile, they swim rapidly, fine, through the cervix, uterus, and finally reach the junction of ampulla and isthmus. Again I wrote, my markings are not coming properly. And this junction is called as ampullary isthmic junction. Again MCQ question asked one. So in this ampullary isthmic junction, the fertilization will occur. It is an MCQ question. So in this part, where again my pen went, so in this part the fertilization will occur, and this part is called the ampullary isthmic junction, or you can say even the upper part of the fallopian tube where the fertilization will occur. Fine. The ovum, which is released from the ovary, it will get transported to the ampullary isthmic junction, and the fertilization will take place in this place. And when the fertilization will take place? When the sperm and the ovum reaches simultaneously at this junction, right? If the ova will come and wait, and when it will die, when the sperms will come, and if like this it occurs, no fertilization. So they must reach simultaneously. Fine. When the ova will be waiting here for the fertilization, then only if the sperms will come, then the fertilization will take place. So I am not able to move this pen freely. Fine. When it will be waiting somewhere here in this, throughout this portion, then only the sperms must come. Otherwise fertilization will not occur. Fine. Now next let me go to the next one. Okay. So here just now whatever I told, that is there. So when the sperm approaches the ova, here detailed process it is not there. So when the sperm approaches the ova, the acrosome content will get released on the ovum. The acrosome content will get released on the ovum and it will dissolve the membranes of the ovum. What all membranes? It will dissolve the corona radiata, it will just penetrate, it will dissolve the egg membrane and then it will enter into the ovum. Fine. Acrosome, it will secrete a lytic enzymes. It will secrete the lytic enzymes which will dissolve the membranes which will come in its path. Once the sperm will come in contact with the zona pellucida, when the sperm will come in contact with the zona pellucida of the ovum, it induces change in the egg membrane. Fine. It induces change in the egg membrane and that will block the entry of the other sperm. Fine. It will not allow any other sperm to enter into the ovum. That is why you will say monospermy. This process is called as monospermy. If more than one sperms will enter into the ovum, then the ova will die. It will get aborted. You can say ova will die. Abortion is a different process. Fine. So that is a natural nature's gift, you can say. So one sperm fertilizes with one ovum. In the nature, always one sperm fertilizes one ovum. Suppose imagine if the two sperm fertilizes the ovum, what will happen? What will occur? What will happen to the chromosome number? And imagine the individual which is produced after that accident, you can say. It is not possible. Fine. Now, haploid nucleus of the sperm fuses with the haploid nucleus of the ovum to form the zygote. Fine. When the ovum will combine with the sperm and it will form the zygote, and the process how it will travel into the cytoplasm, that I have explained to you in the classroom. Fine. The sperm will enter into the cytoplasm, it will take a turn of 180 degree and then the centriole will lead the path, the egg membrane will get dissolved, pronucleus will form, it will approaches the female nucleus and then it will fuse and the helioplasm modella. Okay. Now you have to go for the sex determination. So here a sex determining factor is present with the male. So the sex determining factor is present with the male, and you know what are the chromosomal complement of the male? It is 44 autosomes and XY sex chromosome, and the females have got both X chromosome. Fine. And males are homogametes. Sorry, females are homogametes. Sorry, children. See, females are homogametes as they produce all the gametes with X chromosome. Fine. And males are heterogametes. Heterogamatic, what you say? Heterogametes. They produces the different types of gametes. 50% of their gametes are having X chromosome, and 50% of their sperm has got the Y chromosome. If X chromosome, the sperm with X chromosome fertilizes the ova, then it will result in the production of the female child. It will result in the production of the female child. If the sperm with the Y chromosome combine with the ova, then it will result in the male. Let me write here only. It will result in the production of the male child. So thus the sex determining factor is present with the male. And you know, children, the finding of this, you can say that this has contributed more to the society, because initially, when you see in the old movies, you will see that the blame of not giving birth to the male child was used to lie on the shoulder of the female. The male used to get marry one more girl, but nowadays it is not like that. Fine. the sex determining factor is present with the male, that blame from the female, it has been eradicated by the science. Science has proved boon if we use it in a proper sense. Fine. So here that has been shown in a diagrammatic way. No need for us to explain once again. Now sex determination, just now whatever I told, that is given here. A gamete, it is a haploid, so it contains 50% of the chromosome. Fine. It contains 22 autosomes. So the gametes have got 22 autosomes and one sex chromosome. Fine. Thus it has got 23 chromosomes. So it is given that the sperms have got, that is 50% of the sperms have got the 22 autosomes and X chromosome, and other 50% have got 22 autosomes and Y chromosome. That is why they are called as heterogametic. And whereas in the female, all the ovum have got 22 autosomes with the X chromosome. That is why they are called as homogametic. Females are homogametic as they produces homogametes. Where the pen went? Okay, here it is. Now that whatever I told in the diagram, that is there. So that is the fusion of androsperm. See this term, you have to remember where pen is. Okay, here it is. See, the sperm with Y chromosome is called androsperm, and the sperm with X chromosome is called gymnosperm. Fine. If the androsperm combines with the ovum, the females, they do not have any specific name as the male sperms have got, because they have got, all of them have got the X chromosome. Fine. If the androsperm combines with the ovum, it will result in the male child. If the gymnosperm combines with the ovum, then it will result in the female child. Fine. If the zygote is XX, it will develop into female. If it is XY, then it will develop into the male child. Early embryonic development. So early embryonic development. Here you will read the development of the zygote. When the zygote is formed, it will divide continuously through mitosis. And the continuous division of the mitosis is called the cleavage. And through the cleavage, a ball of cell is formed. Just a solid ball of cell is formed. Fine, a cell. And this stage is called as morula. And this, the cells here, again they will divide, redivide and form the next stage of embryo, which is called blastula. See, blastula, it is here the cells are arranged in such a way that it will form the hollow ball of cells. So here you will see a cavity, and here you will see the arrangement of the cells. So this cavity is called as blastocele. And this process of formation of blastula is called blastulation. Formation of morula from the zygote is called morulation. And this blastula will form the gastrula. Blastula will form the gastrula. Gastrula. It is R and it is U. Fine. And the process is called gastrulation. What is the special about the gastrula? Here the germ layers are formed, and the blastomeres, that is the cells of the blastula, are called blastomeres, and they will move according to their fate and occupy their specific space. Thus they will form 3 germ layers. That is the, what are those 3 layers? Ectoderm, endoderm and the mesoderm. From these 3 germ layers only all other organ systems are formed that you have studied. Now let me go to the next. So cleavage usually occurs, it will occur in the fallopian tube itself. Fine. And fertilization, when it will take place here in the upper part of the fallopian tube, it has been shown here. Let it be what is there. But you have to remember that in the upper part of the fallopian tube, the fertilization will occur and the cell will start dividing through the cleavage, that is through the mitosis. 2 cell stage, 4 cell stage, 8 cell stage, like that it will form. When it will reach 16 cell stage, this is the morula, then blastula. Fine. This, when the zygote will be in blastula stage. I have brought water with me. Fine. So blastula, at that time it will come to the uterus and it will start implanting. So during the blastula formation, the blastula of the mammals is called as blastocyst. The blastula of the human beings is called as blastocyst, and I did not took the structure of a blastula. In the next slide, please. Then let me go to the next slide. See, when the embryo will reach at the blastula stage, blastocyst stage, the structure looks like this. The upper surface, the upper outer layer of cells is called as trophoblast. Fine, it is called trophoblast, and this cavity is called as blastocele. This cavity is called blastocele, which is filled with the coelomic fluid, and on one side you will see inner mass of cell, or it is also called as embryonic mass of cell. This is going to form the embryo. Fine. In this stage it will come to the uterus, and you know the trophoblast cells will secrete the lytic enzymes, proteolytic enzyme, and it will corrode the endometrial wall. It will corrode the endometrial wall. A small depression is formed, and this blastocyst will get lodged into this endometrium, and the uterine wall, the uterine cells will cover this blastocyst. Thus the implantation process will completed. We don't have much detail, so let us not bother. So that only is given. So implantation requires here nearly 3 to 5 days. Implantation requires nearly 3 to 5 days, and it will complete by 9 to 10 days after fertilization. That is why usually so after 15 days of the period, it is suppose that if a female will not get the period, fine, menstrual cycle, she must get, or she must go for the pregnancy test after 14 days. It is advised, usually it is advised, fine, because during that time the implantation process will be completed and the progesterone level will increase in the blood. By that the doctors will come to know, or even we can come to know by testing. One kit is there that we have got the next Pregnopic test, fine. So after implantation, the trophoblast will develop a chorionic villi. Fine, it will develop a finger-like process which will get embedded in the uterine wall to form the placenta, and it will get surrounded by the uterine tissue and the maternal blood. Here you can see the formation of the placenta. Fine. And then the placenta is connected to the vascularized organ. It develops a connection between the embryo and the mother uterus. Mother R went here. Mother or maternal tissue, you can say. The chorionic villi and the maternal tissue together form the placenta. What all components you will see in the placenta? You will see the fetal component as well as the maternal component. Fine. Now functions of the placenta. You have to know the functions of the placenta. So this question is the 1 mark question which is asked in annual exam, I think. Umbilical cord. Even it can be a MCQ question. So the embryo is connected to the placenta through umbilical cord. Umbilical cord, you know what is umbilical cord. So this one is umbilical cord. So this one. Fine. Through this only the fetus is connected to the maternal tissue. Okay. So the blastomeres in the blastocyst, they will get arranged in 2 layers just now, which you have already read. That is the trophoblast and the inner mass of cells, inner cell mass. The trophoblast attaches to the endometrium and it will help in implantation, and this only will develop into the placenta. Fine. Now the inner mass of cell, it will develop into embryo. The complete attachment of blastocyst to the uterine of the endometrium is called implantation. Fine. Now let me go to the next. So this Already I told you. So here day wise it is given. What will happen? Say after fertilization by 7th day, the blastocyst will reach the uterus. Now pregnancy. Just now I went up. Okay. Functions of placenta we were discussing. Sorry children. So this umbilical cord, it connect baby to the maternal tissue, and this placenta will facilitate, it will help in the transportation of the oxygen and the nutrient from the mother to the embryo, from the maternal tissue to the, or you can say from the mother to the embryo, and it will help in the removal of carbon dioxide and waste from the fetus. Fine. Through the maternal systems it will eliminate, and a barrier is formed between the fetus and the embryo, that is the placenta. It will form a barrier for preventing, or you can say to keep the baby safe. It will prevent the entry of pathogens, blood, maternal hormone. Fine. Thus you can say it will form a barrier between the mother and the fetus, and it will allow only needed material. It will not allow all the materials to pass through. That is why always baby is safe in the womb of the mother. And it also acts as an endocrine gland. It acts as an endocrine gland and produces several hormones like human chorionic gonadotropin, which is indicated by HCG, and human placental lactogen, estrogen and progesterone. It was asked in theory, and you have to remember this for MCQ also. So human chorionic gonadotropin along with progesterone is very important for maintaining the pregnancy. Fine. Human chorionic gonadotropin along with progesterone. So I told you that progesterone is a pregnancy maintaining hormone. Even the human chorionic gonadotropin also will help. The urine of the pregnant woman is taken for the test to check the presence of human chorionic gonadotropin. So usually in our mind it will be there that we will check for the progesterone level. Even the level of the gonadotropin hormone is checked by this. If two lines will occur prominently, then it will indicate the positive for the pregnancy. If only one line will occur here, they will give it is a pregnancy kit. Fine. So if single line appears, then there is no pregnancy. Usually it is done personally also it can be done. Fine. Embryonic development. So embryonic development, the inner cell mass or the embryonic cells of the blastula, they are stem cells. What do you mean by stem cells? They are totipotent cells. They can form any type of tissue, totipotent or totipotency. They are stem cells. They had the potency to produce all the types of cells, tissues and organs through differentiation. So after implantation, the stem cells of the blastocyst, where my pen went children, again I am missing this pen. These stem cells will get differentiated and it will form different layers in the gastrula called ectoderm, endoderm and the mesoderm. And from these cells only the organs will form. The formation of the organ is called organogenesis. The formation of the organ is called organogenesis, and the different organ systems are formed in the baby. So after 1 month of pregnancy, first the heart is formed. See, if the physician will not listen heartbeat from the womb of the mother, then they will say that the baby is not growing properly, and they will wait for some more days and then advise for the abortion. Fine. And by the end of the 2nd month, baby's limbs will develop. This you have to remember. All the points which are given in the NCERT, you have to remember for your MCQ. By the 1st month, what will happen? By the 1st month of the pregnancy, heart is developed. By the 2nd month of pregnancy, limbs and the desserts will develop. A small baby will develop. Now next slide. By the end of the 3rd month, the whole pregnancy is divided into 3 trimester. 1st trimester, 2nd trimester and the 3rd trimester. The duration of the pregnancy is for 9 months. Fine. Initial 3 months, it will form the 1st trimester. Next 3 to 6 month, second trimester. 6 to 9 month, it is a third trimester. Fine. And by the first trimester, many of the organ systems will develop. Fine. Like limbs and external genital organs will develop. Fine. And that is why usually whenever nowadays sex determination has been banned, but the sex of the child will get decided at the time of the birth itself, but the sex of the baby can be known through the scanning by 3rd month. Fine. By the 5th month, the fetus movement for the first time can be felt by the mother, even can be observed from the abdomen. In the scanning we can see, and the hairs will appear on the baby's body. Fine. By the 6th, or you can say by the 2nd trimester, the body of the child, the body of the fetus is covered by the fine hairs, whole body. So here during the 5th month, it will usually first the hairs will appear on the head. Fine. And eyelids will get separated. You will see the separation marking of the eyelids, and eyelashes are formed by the 2nd trimester. By the 6th month, all the features will develop in the baby. By the 9th month, the baby will get developed completely. Fine. It is ready for the delivery, you can say. See, even by the 7th month, also the baby will get developed completely. Fine. But the fat deposition won't be there below the skin. That is why the maintenance of the temperature will become very difficult, but the baby can survive. Fine. And parturition. What is parturition? See, the pregnancy in the human being is called gestation. The pregnancy period is called as gestation period, and it is of 9 months in the human beings. Fine. The delivery of the baby is called parturition. The delivery of the baby is called parturition, and it occurs mainly by the strong contraction of the myometrium. It will occur mainly by the strong contraction of the myometrium. The signal for the parturition is originated by, it is a question, fine, MCQ question, originated from fully developed fetus. If the fetus is not fully developed, then it will not give any signal for the parturition. And the placenta. So the signal for the parturition from where you will get? From the fully developed fetus and the placenta. It induces a mild contraction in the uterus, and this is called fetal ejection reflex. It is called fetal ejection reflex, and this fetal ejection reflex, it is triggered by oxytocin, which is released from the pituitary. Fine. This oxytocin, it will show a positive feedback mechanism. It is the best example for positive feedback mechanism. Fine, children. Well, this oxytocin, it will induce the strong contraction of the myometrium. It will induce the strong contraction of the myometrium, and after the delivery, even the placenta will get delivered. Placenta also will get expelled. It will not remain in the body of the mother. Fine. Mass, what you say. Next is the lactation. What do you mean by lactation? It is the process of formation and ejection of the milk, you can say. So the process of milk production in the mammary gland is called as lactation. Again, I missed my pen. Where it went? Okay, here it is. The process of milk production in the mammary gland is called the lactation. The mammary gland will start producing the milk at the end of the pregnancy. Fine. Actually, from the 3rd month, some will say that 3rd to 4th month, alveoli will become active. But here, as per our knowledge, at the end of the pregnancy, the mammary glands will start producing the milk. So milk produced during initial days of lactation is called colostrum. MCQ question asked, I think. And it contains several antibodies. It contains several antibodies and proteins which will provide immunity to the baby. and the milk production is controlled by lactotrophic or prolactin hormone, which is secreted by the pituitary. Fine. And initial milk, it is good for the health of the baby. It will provide natural immunity to the baby. So that is why the initial milk must be fed to the baby. In some of the religion, the initial milk is thrown out thinking that it is the milk which is stored for the 9 months. Actually, it is wrong. So that milk must be fed to the baby. And usually for 12 to 14 months, if the baby is kept on the milk, its immune power will be very high and the child will be very healthy. And initial 6 months, one should not give even the water. Fine. Hope I have revised in short about the human reproduction. Some points have been left here. So those points you have to cover by reading the NCERT, like the detailed process of fertilization we did not do. Fine. And okay, bye children. Tomorrow we will do the lactation, this MCQ, and thank you for watching this one. Hope you people are preparing yourself for the NEET. Okay, all the best for your preparation. Prepare well, get good result, fulfill your dream. And this time the NEET pattern is changed. 35 questions are compulsory. Fine. Sorry, I did not say you. 35. See, NEET, in the NEET, how many questions you will solve? 45. And in the 45, 35 is part A questions which you have to do compulsory. Maybe in this you will get the questions which this year you have read, and 15 questions are there extra in the B section, and here you have to do 10 compulsory and another 5 you can leave. So this you can attempt 10 questions from the section B. Fine. And you remember that maybe these 15 questions will include from those portions which have been deleted this year. Fine. And this time, of course, you are getting 3 hours, that is 180 minutes you are getting. You are getting 180 minutes, and in those 180 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes will go in reading OMR sheet and filling. So how many minutes are left to you? Only 165 minutes are left with you. Just imagine you will run shortage of time. Usually I will say that biology is very easy if you read and understand properly. So please children, increase your speed and understanding skill, so that when you read the question, immediately you must understand that this is the question from this chapter and I know this chapter very well and I can mark correctly. So like that you keep in your mind. So if the question, see from these 15 questions, if you will happen to come across those questions which from those chapters in which you are not perfect, just skip that question. Skip that question. Don't mark all 15 questions. Fine. You know that negative marking is there, and they will, if you mark all 15, maybe they may select initial 10 questions. Then don't do, just practice it. So practice it properly. Hope you may be called for, let us try to call you to the college for mock test, at least those who are preparing seriously. Okay, so that this practice will get in the home. You will not get OMR sheets, isn't it? If you are practicing in the home seriously, take some of the OMR sheets from the college and practice it. Sir definitely will give you. Okay, bye children, and thank you for watching. And it is not compulsory that you have to watch this only. If you watch, it is better. We also will improve our teaching with this new technologies. Fine, you can watch any video, be perfect. That's all. I want that only. Okay, let me stop